Also, Kalu now spent more time at home with her and it seemed more romantic, especially in the mornings, as Kalu would often fondle and suckle her breast. Chisom loved every bit of it until 2 months later, when Chisom finally had their baby and Kalu instructed her not to breastfeed the baby. Once upon a time, in a small remote town, lived a very young man and his wife. The man's name is Kalu and his wife's name was Chisom. Kalu and Chisom got married at a very early age. Kalu was 22 years old and Chisom was 19 years old when they got married. They had been friends when they were children and even in their teenage years, and then their friendship grew into a deep attraction for each other when they grew older. They decided to get married to each other despite their parents' reservations. Kalu, you are only but a young man and still full of life. Instead of getting married, you should be working hard to build a better future for yourself. You should use the little money you have saved and the one I have also saved to go to the university, graduate and have a good job, after which you can then take a wife. Taking a wife is no child's play, Kalu's mother told him. Mama, who says I can't build a good future for myself if I get married early? I love Chisom and together we will build a good future, Kalu replied his mother. Besides, who says that getting married at a later year of life guarantees success? He asked his mother. My late father married you when he was 39 years old. Yet, he didn't build any wealth, but left us with nothing tangible except for this house, which is even an inheritance from his father, my grandfather, Kalu said in his defense. Kalu's mother had been the second wife of her late husband, Kalu's father, because Kalu's father's first wife bore him no children. Kalu's father was not rich, so his family lived in little. Kalu's father had sold the 2 pieces of land Kalu's grandfather left behind. So, apart from the compound they live in now, Kalu had no inheritance. From age 19, after completing his secondary school education, Kalu would go to work in people's farm and receive money for his service because his mother was not earning enough to send him to the university like his mates. His mother had, however, helped him to always save parts of the money and also parts from her own business, so he would be able to go to the university later. But now, Kalu was saying that he is in love and wants to use the money he had been saving for the university to pay Chisom's dowry and get married to her. Mama, I am 22, which means that I am an adult that knows what is good for me, Kalu told his mother. Now, as Kalu's mother is advising him, in the same way, Chisom's parents were also advising her. I know you and Kalu had been friends for years and now lovers, but we don't think that deciding to get married now is the best for you two. Kalu is a good boy, but he has nothing to his name now. Allow him to build something better for himself first. Then, you two can now marry and then we will be sure that he can take care of you, Chisom's parents said to her. But just like Kalu, Chisom was also in love and would not see reasons with her parents. Ha, Mama, Papa, you've always taught me not to be covetous, but to be content with what I have and whatever little my loved ones could provide for me. So why are you not telling me not to marry Kalu because he doesn't have much to offer me at the moment? Chisom asked her parents. Chisom, you are right that we have taught you not to be covetous. But this issue here is different. We are only telling you not to marry Kalu now because he's a young man who is yet to acquire the basic things of life and so would struggle to take care of a wife now, Chisom's father said. We would send you to the university next session. We have saved enough money for that. You would study, graduate, get a job, and then can now marry, her parents said to her also. Hey, Papa, Mama, be ready to come pick my lifeless body if you send me off to the university and not allow me marry Kalu, Chisom replied defiantly. Okay, you both should give it time, like 2 or 3 more years. Then you guys will be a little more mature and Kalu also would have worked to acquire a few basic necessities and would be mentally ready as a man to take a wife, her father said again, trying to convince Chisom still. But neither Chisom nor Kalu was ready to take their parents' advice. They met and discussed their parents' reservations about their proposed union and decided to emotionally manipulate their parents so they would allow them to get married. They decided that they were going to go on a hunger strike until their parents agreed to their union, and if that does not work, they would threaten to take their lives. And that is what they did. They refused to eat any food for days. Chisom only had to stay hungry for 3 days, and by the morning of the 4th day, when her parents saw that she was free and looking almost lifeless, they ran to Kalu's house to tell him that he can now come with his people to marry Chisom. And so, that was how Chisom and Kalu became a couple. But sooner than they were married, they realized that their parents had been right. The meager pay Kalu made from working in people's farm was barely enough to feed himself and Chisom. Before now, he ate from his mother's pots. Kalu's mother sold fresh vegetables and smoked fish in the community markets. The vegetables she got from her vegetable garden at the back of her compound, while the fish she bought fresh from fishermen and smoked them herself. With the money she made from the sale of her vegetable and smoked fish, she was able to feed herself and Kalu. Kalu would only give his mother some little change a few times from the money he made from working on people's farm. But his mother had never had a problem with feeding him daily because he was her son, and appreciated the little money he would always give her to support her. After Kalu got married, he thought it was business as usual as he went into his mother's kitchen the following week after his marriage ceremony and asked for some food for himself and Chisom. Chisom's parents had been providing them with cooked meals the first week of their marriage, as it was their custom to do so. But the food stopped coming on the 8th day. Kalu was expecting his mother to bring his food to him or call him to come pick his food like she used to before. But he waited all day and no food came. Chisom had asked him for money that morning so she would prepare some food for them. But Kalu told her that he had no more money on him because he used all the money he had saved to pay for Chisom's dowry and their marriage ceremony. So what are we going to eat? Chisom asked. Don't worry, my mother would bring food for us. She usually brings my food to me, but I hadn't done so the past week because your parents were bringing food to us as per our custom. Now that is over, she will resume bringing my food again, Kalu told Chisom. But they waited all morning and no food came. So, at midday, Kalu crossed over to the other side of the compound and went into his mother's kitchen, opening the pots to check if there was food. "What are you looking for?" his mother's voice came from behind. "Mother, Chisom and I are hungry. You didn't bring us food or called us to come collect our food. So I came to check," Kalu replied. "Hey, bring your food to you? Didn't your wife cook for you?" his mother asked him. "You are married now, so I will no longer cook or bring food to you. That job is not the duty of your wife. You do no longer have access to my kitchen," she told him. Kalu stared at his mother, realizing that she was right. As a married man, it was not the duty of his wife to make his meal. But then, he had no money on him to give to Chisom to prepare something for them to eat. He stood there still staring and confused about what to do. He had been so excited about his marriage that he forgot that there are responsibilities attached to being married. "Please come out of my kitchen. I want to lock it," his mother said. Kalu walked out and back to his own quarters slowly and confused about what to do. When Chisom asked him about the food, Kalu lied to her that his mother had not prepared anything because she had been out the whole morning. "Please, my love, can you go to your parents and ask for some food for us? It doesn't have to be cooked. Even if it is a raw yam, we would cook it ourselves," Kalu said. So, Chisom went to her parents' house. Her father was not at home at the time she got there, but her mother was. Her mother was surprised and disappointed when Chisom came to her, begging for some food, barely 2 weeks of being married. "Mama, Kalu does not have any money on him because he spent all his savings for our marriage. Please, just give us some food for today at least," Chisom begged her mother. Her stomach was already rumbling from hunger pangs. Her mother went in and brought out some few raw food and handed it over to Chisom. "Take this. This is all I can give to you. I believe this will be enough for a few days. Tell Kalu to go out and work so you both would not have to come to us begging for food again. Because your father will not tolerate it too if he finds out that I am giving out our food to feed you and your husband," Chisom's mother said, as she handed Chisom a sack containing the foodstuffs. So, for the next 3 days, Kalu and Chisom had food to eat. Kalu resumed working on people's farms as he used to make some money for himself. But the money was barely enough to feed himself and Chisom properly. Usually, if he works for 3 days, he got paid about 7,000 naira, and this was barely enough to buy enough food to feed them for 3 days. And when Chisom became pregnant a few weeks later, things became more difficult for them. Kalu worked his ass out to keep up and be able to provide for his pregnant wife. But it was not easy for him. His back ached constantly and his hands became sore. Also, he no longer had the time to spend quality time with Chisom, as he was always very tired after working the whole day and would fall asleep immediately after he had had his dinner. Chisom now became always bored. She would be at home all day and had no one to interact with. Her best friends, Ego and Oluchi, had gained admission into the university, so she couldn't go to their houses. Her mother-in-law, Kalu's mother, always left the house early every morning to the markets. And her own mother's shop is in another town and Chisom can't trek there. The money Kalu brought home was not so much, so she knew it would be unwise using the money to pay for tricycle to go be with her mother every day. Alone all by herself every day, Chisom would cry in her room for hours. The pregnancy hormones even made it worse. She could not even register for antenatal in the village health center like other pregnant women because there was no money. One day, Kalu came home to pick something and met Chisom crying. He asked her what the problem was, and in tears, Chisom complained about how she was finding their new life difficult to cope with. Kalu's heart ached when he heard that. He loved Chisom, but he regretted not listening to their parents. He thought love was all that mattered and all that a man and a woman need to get married. But now he knew better. However, he was determined to put in his best still. So, the following week, he decided to travel to the city to visit his secondary school mates called Ifeanyi. Kalu had heard that Ifeanyi was doing so well in the city barely 2 years after he left secondary school. Ifeanyi was in money and had 2 cars already. Ifeanyi did not go to the university like most of his other friends and classmates. All Ifeanyi did was to go work as an apprentice for a rich man who deal on the sale of expensive and exquisite furnitures. And in 2 years, Ifeanyi was already in money. So, Kalu thought to himself that if he could get to Ifeanyi and begged him to show him the way, he would have enough money to take care of himself, Chisom, and their unborn baby, which would arrive very soon. Hey, my guy, are you sure you are ready to do what I did to become wealthy? Ifeanyi asked Kalu after listening to him when Kalu arrived at his house. Ha! I will do anything, Ife. I have suffered, and Chisom, my love, is also suffering. I will do anything, work harder, work extra hours and days, so long it would give me better and fast money than the peanuts I earn in the village, Kalu replied in desperation. Ifeanyi, after looking at him, stretched out the staff he usually carried about and asked Kalu to swear that if he showed him the way, he would not tell or reveal to anyone his secrets. Kalu hesitated for some seconds, but took the staff and swore to secrecy. Ifeanyi asked him to eat and rest and told him that by evening they would go out. By evening, Ifeanyi took Kalu out. He drove for many hours until it was nightfall. Finally, they got to a village filled with rocky paths. Ifeanyi parked his car and told Kalu that they would continue the rest of the journey on foot. They walked for about almost an hour and finally got to a cave. Ifeanyi took Kalu into the cave, and in it, Kalu saw a very frail and dirty old woman making soup by a little fireside in the middle of the cave. The smell of the soup the old woman was making smelled so bad that it almost made Kalu vomit, but he held himself. Wise mother, my friend here desires to be as wealthy as I am, and that is why I have brought him to you, Ifeanyi said to the frail old woman. Did you make him swear the oaths before you brought him here? The old woman asked, referring to Kalu, and Ifeanyi replied in affirmative. The old woman then instructed Kalu to wash his hand in a small clay pot that was close to where he sat. Kalu obeyed, frightened and uneasy, but not uttering any word. After washing his hands, the old woman looked at his palm and smiled. The task for you to become rich is quite easy. You are lucky, she said to him. I can see you are already married, but no problem. All you have to do is suckle my breast now. Then I will give you a substance to add to your wife's meal. After which you must suckle her breast also every morning for the rest of your life, as long as you live and for as long as you want to remain wealthy, the old woman told Kalu. Kalu felt an uneasy feeling rush through his throat at the idea of sucking the old woman's breast. But he had been warned that there was no turning back. So, slowly, he stepped forward and closed his eyes as he suckled the old woman's breast in the next 5 minutes. You can now remove your mouth, the old woman said after he had suckled for 5 minutes. Kalu let out a deep sigh, believing that all he had to do now was suckle his wife's youthful breast, which he saw as no problem. The old woman stretched out her hand and gave him the substance to add to his wife's meal. Now listen to me carefully, the old woman said after Kalu had accepted the substance from her. You must ensure that you add this substance to your wife's meal and must not fail to suckle her breast before you step out every morning. Else, you would run mad and lose the wealth. Secondly, you must ensure that no child must ever suckle your wife's breast or whatever comes from your wife's breast. Only you is allowed to suckle your wife's breast for as long as you both live. And lastly, you must return to this cave every 6 months to come suckle my breast again as part of the ritual. If you fail or make any error as regards my instructions and warnings, you will lose all your wealth and would run mad, the old woman warned. Kalu stared at Ifeanyi and back at the old woman. He had thought that sucking the old woman's breast this time was all he had to do. Wise mother, Kalu called, following Ifeanyi's footstep. Wise mother, my wife is pregnant with our unborn child, and it is expected of her to breastfeed our baby when it is born. How then would that happen if you say no child must suckle her breast or whatever comes from her breast? Kalu asked, scared and confused. I do not care how you do it. All I know is that no child, not even the one you are expecting now, or the ones that you would have in future, must suckle from your wife's breast. Else, you would lose the wealth, lose that child, and would go mad. And even if you fail to use the substance I have given you now, you would run mad still, because you have already suckled my breast, the old woman warned. When they left the old woman's cave, Kalu was unhappy with himself and with Ifeanyi and queried him for not telling him that he made his money through a fetish means. What were you thinking when I asked you to swear to an oath? You said you could do anything for money. So my guy, relax. Your own is even better. Shey you will be sucking your wife's breast every morning. As for me, I am required to take back every single waste product that comes out through my anus. So, I eat my poop every day, Ifeanyi informed him. And so, having no other choice and not wanting to run mad, Kalu returned to his village and did as the old woman instructed. He ensured that he added the substance to Chisom's meal after asking her to go get him more water to drink while they ate one evening. And when Chisom returned with the drinking water, Kalu stopped eating and told her he was full and asked her to eat the remaining meal. The next morning, a strange man visited their compound and claimed that he was Kalu's father's friend. He told Kalu and his mother that himself and Kalu's father had done a business and made some investments years ago, but that Kalu's father died before the investment could yield profits, and that now he was there to give Kalu, his son, his own share of the profits they made. He handed to Kalu a bag containing some money and left. Kalu's mother and Chisom were very happy that they danced for joy. But Kalu knew the actual source of the money. With the money, Kalu bought a bigger house, 2 large farmlands, and 3 other lands as he planned to erect other buildings on them. Their fortune changed overnight and people began to envy them. Those who had been making spiteful comments about Kalu and Chisom began to sing their praises. Chisom was happy. With their new status, she was now able to register for antenatal. Also, Kalu now spent more time at home with her and it seemed more romantic, especially in the mornings, as Kalu would often fondle and suckle her breast. Chisom loved every bit of it until 2 months later, when Chisom finally had their baby and Kalu instructed her not to breastfeed the baby. He insisted on the day of the delivery that the midwife at the healthcare center allow him stay in the delivery room. He said so he could monitor them and ensure that the nurses and midwife do not ask Chisom to breastfeed the baby when it is born. I had a dream, and in that dream, my father appeared to me and asked me to ensure that I stay in the delivery room with my wife if I want her to have a successful delivery. So I must do so. He lied to the doctor and midwife. And because they were also indigents and believed in spirits and in the supernatural, they allowed him to be with them in the delivery room. He was happy when, in the first 48 hours after delivery, Chisom's breasts were not producing milk. So, they fed the baby with artificial formula. But on the 3rd day, when Chisom returned home and Kalu saw that she was now producing breast milk, he told her not to breastfeed the baby at all. I do not want your breasts to sag, so I do not want you to breastfeed the baby. I have bought enough artificial formula for the baby. Only feed our baby with the artificial formula, Kalu told Chisom. But that is why I am a woman and now a mother. We were told in antenatal that breastfeeding helps us bond with our baby. How can you ask me not to? I want to bond with my baby and I don't care if my breast sags, Chisom said. Well, I care. Do as I say. Be ready to leave my house and return to your father's house if you attempt to breastfeed the baby, Kalu warned her. Chisom froze with fear and confusion, wondering why Kalu had not wanted her to breastfeed their baby and sounded so harsh. In order not to offend her husband, Chisom obeyed him and did not breastfeed their baby, while Kalu still suckled her breast despite the breast milk flowing from it. On the 4th day, her mother, who had come to help her take care of the baby, noticed that Chisom had refused to breastfeed the baby, despite now able to express breast milk. When she asked to know why, Chisom told her why. "Mama, Kalu said I must not breastfeed our baby. He said he does not want my breast to sag. He threatened to send me packing if I breastfeed the baby," she explained. Chisom's mother let out a loud hiss. "What rubbish! So for his own foolish reason, he is denying his child what he naturally has," Chisom's mother said. Then she asked Chisom to apply wisdom and breastfeed the baby whenever Kalu was out, and give the baby the artificial formula when he was around. "He wouldn't know, and so would not send you packing," Chisom's mother advised her. And so, that afternoon, Chisom breastfed the baby. That same evening, Kalu, who was drinking in a bar and having a good time with some friends, suddenly began to laugh hysterically and began saying gibberish. At first, his friends thought he had had too much to drink. It was when he started taking off his clothes that they realized that he had gone insane. In fear, they rushed and carried him to his mansion, but met the mansion on fire. No one knew how the fire started, but Chisom, her mother, and the baby were able to run out while everything burned to the ground. In his insane state, Kalu confessed to having gone to a juju woman to help him become wealthy because life was hard for him and Chisom, and he wanted to prove that he was a man. Anyway, after 3 weeks of raving mad, his mother, who had been going from one prayer house to another, was finally able to get a strong prophet who prayed for him and cured him from his insane state. During the 3 weeks period he was insane, Chisom stayed with her parents and remained in her old room with her baby, who had fortunately not died, contrary to what the juju woman had said. Out of shame and regrets, she wished she had listened to her parents and not rushed into marriage. More so a man who was so young himself and could be considered a boy. She realized that being in love was not all it takes to rush into marriage. She was grateful when her father promised to still sponsor her to the university, and her mother promised to help her look after her baby. As for Kalu, after he regained his sanity, he also learned his lesson and also came to know that there was more to being a man than being in love and having a penis. He was grateful that Chisom's father was still willing to send her to the university. He decided to work harder himself so he would have a second chance at a better future. The end. Hello lovelies, I hope you enjoyed the story and I hope you have learned something from it. Of course, you would know I would love to know, so drop your comments in the comment section. Also give this video a like and share it to your friends. And for those who are yet to subscribe, please hit on the subscribe button now to support me and so you won't miss other future stories from this channel. If you have watched up to this time, thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next story. Bye.